Yeah, I couldn't think of what to say then. We're here at the Fireside. Obviously, Mr. H has something to say to you. Let's go and have a look. What? What am I on about? Anyway. Slick camera angles, sir.
Yes, we're still here, stuffing our faces with good jackpot, aren't we, sir? Right, have you found, sir, as you get older, I know we seem to be concentrating on this a lot, but have you reached, or are you at the stage where you're just resistant to change? You've sort of reached a level, and as far as you're concerned, I can't be arsed with. Somebody comes up with something, hey, get this, it's new, and you're just like, I can't be arsed with that. Have you reached that stage, or would you say that's not come to you yet?
I think that's somewhat of a expansive question. I think I'm relatively open-minded to technology. Again, I don't want to go into a contentious issue. Some of this diversity politics of I struggle with being open-minded to certain aspects of it. You know, I don't want to get into the mechanics of it. You know what I mean? But I tend to be open-minded. It's a hard one, isn't it? What I struggle with more, I don't know if you found this, is social settings. I can't be bothered with, on a professional level, like on a film set or whatever, I'm alright with people, but I just don't want I'd like as few people in my life as functionally possible, if that makes any sense. I'm not taking your video in the wrong respect, but back to your initial question. I try to keep open minded, especially with technology kind of thing. Obviously, because we do this now, you know, there are if you watch the earlier videos, they're quite fucking primitive. I mean, and the camera work isn't the best in some of these, but in the earlier ones, you get 10 minutes of my ear roll. You know what I mean? And how the fuck you lot stuck with us? You know, you get my ear roll or Mr. H's chin, because we had this little shitty Kodak thing with a silver ball on the back, what was the mirror, so you had to like guess where you was aiming for, with disastrous results. So open-minded technologically, yeah, because if AI can help us and assist us, I'm all for that. I'm not a fucking Luddite kind of thing, you know. Who knows, in the future that we could deep fake. We could stop in bed and just program AI to deep fake us and just go in the woods and just you know. But which is a worrying thing, really. But that's another video about things like that. But I tend to stay kind of open-minded about most things, really. I think.
I think when the changes, I mean, is you like you say, you get social changes. The thing is, and this is what annoys me, we was brought up in an era of the 70s, 80s, and those values that are placed upon you when you're a child, you will carry with them for life. For example, my father, and I'm sure your father, was talking about that, about you know, different things, sexuality-wise and that. And my dad simply said, he said, back in my day, it meant jail, and that's what it meant. Right or wrong, that's what it meant. So it's very difficult to go to somebody who's older when you're young, you know, and say, you're thinking wrong, mister. Well, reason being is because I was brought up that way. I think Goering once said, they tried to get him on Stanford, says he was wrong. And he famously said, how can I say that something that I said was right yesterday is wrong today? You can't do it. You can't do it. You'd be programmed and hardwired a certain way. And I found that the older I've got, I am resistant to change. Regarding technology, I get frustrated with it, sir. I don't know about you, but I find I get frustrated with it more easily. You know, I hate that when you get that on your phone and you're doing something and it's two-step verification. And as I said in a previous video, I do have a vision that one day, if ever, God forbid, it comes, that there's a nuclear war, the Prime Minister at the time will be busy trying to get a Wi-Fi signal and be getting all these messages and getting angry. You know, that's the thing sometimes with technology, it does become long-winded. And I just think that's just an age thing. But I found as I have got older, I have got resistant to change and wanted to stick with where things was, the status quo, as it were.
Well, in that respect, you know, I hate when you have a problem with a company and you can't speak to a human. It's a chat bot, or you can't get through to an actual fucking person. That does annoy me. Can you imagine being old in your 70s and you've got some issue? And even the counsellor, I think the counsellor there, have you got an email account? Some old people don't know what fucking an email is.
Some old people don't have a phone.
You know, and you know, back in the 70s we had the ring dial phone. If you want to be a fucking purist and still have one, you can't have one because sometimes you have to fucking press button 1, press your hashtag fucking symbol and all that. And we do sound like old cunts, and to respect, we are older men. We're not fucking pensioners. You know what I mean? We're
but for us, that's the next
knocking
stage.
on. We're knocking on.
That's the next stage.
You know, but I get you with that, and the you know, the gender thing and the sexuality thing. It's an all philosophical debate because I went to America and I was in a film called The Bludgeoning, and all the cast were like men identifying as women and LGBT and stuff like that. And I entered it very open-minded, and from a philosophical perspective, you think about it. What right has another person to tell them what they should identify as? And that's from a philosophical perspective, right? And if I wanted to identify as a fucking orange, you know, it would be up to the people around me whether they wanted to accept me identifying as an orange, right? Okay. Now, when you're taking that into a realm of, I don't want to go on dodgy ground here, you know what I mean? A man identifying as a woman, that's all well and good, really. The difficulty you have with that is if that man was to enter a women's sport with the biological, which you can't get around that, the physical biological advantages of being male, extra testosterone, size, power, right? And also the aspect of a pre-op transsexual, if that's the right term to use, man, going in a women's changing rooms and changing, and that would be a problem for a lot of women. Supposing there was a woman in there who'd been raped, you know, or suffered prior sexual assault. You know, these are arguments I'm giving. I'm not slagging it. I'm just saying there is a philosophical debate for what right do we have to determine what you want. I suppose it's like saying I want to be whatever. We want to sit around the fire and make a video. Well, why do you want to fucking do that? It's an old philosophical debate, but then you have the actual kind of pragmatic problem of there is sticking points to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you over to that.
Do you find as well that, you know, like you were saying, you was over there and you was in this little circle of people that was thinking a particular way? Did you find that it was easier to be more accepting of that than say you was in Wigan, where pretty much it's still, I don't mean this nastily, but there is still that backward way of thinking, for want of a better term?
I have a big problem with the mentality. I have a big problem with the small town mentality because I have, especially since I reared my ugly head on social media, I have suffered so much hassle and indifference and persecution. I've had people threatening to come and find me and kick me in, beat me up because they didn't like what I put online, and so it's kind of nice. I mean, it went too far in America where you had people apologising for being white. There was a white lad having a conversation with, I think he was, and I don't think it was racial, other races. He was, but he was getting this all. It was ultra woke, where one white fella was saying white people I'm sorry. We're not apologising, but as good as apologising. But it kind of, in a way, it made me open my mind about the whole thing of you know, we have no right, and perhaps when we do judge, that's the Wiganer in us, or the small town mentality. But there is no getting round the fact that there is problems with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't know how that.
I believe it was challenged, wasn't it, in Scotland, and they've lost the case.
Is that right? Go on.
Yeah, the High Court has made some ruling, and basically what Scottish Government want to bring in, I can't quote it verbatim, I'm sure somebody who watches these videos will be better, but basically, yeah, he got thrown out that way of thinking. You know, it's like you said, you can't brush the problems that come up under the carpet, and that's what they do with it. You know, so if you bring out the problem like you've just said about sport, like, oh, you're just a hater. No, I'm bringing up a practical problem. You know, I am raising an issue. How are you going to deal with this? Well, I've no answer for that, so I'll shout you down. And that's something else that they do in the modern world. It's happened since 2020, where pretty much, if you bring up a problem and you have a valid problem, rather than that person say, I've no answer for that, or we'll work on that, they just shout you down. You know, it's the wrong way. What is that old saying? You know, just because you cut a man's tongue out or something, you don't make him right. You know, you're not right just because you've silenced somebody. You know, but yeah, you're right. It is a problem. But getting right back to the beginning of our thing, I am finding as I get older, I am more resistant to change. I just think it's just as you get older.
Yeah. It's always nice to keep an open mind. Sorry. It's always nice to keep an open mind if you can, but there are obviously situations what challenge and contest that, I suppose. So.
And sadly, we're not qualified enough to be able to address those things, are we?
No. Shall we leave it there, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good call, that actually.
This fucking Evil Knievel goes past on a fucking motorbike. Thank you.